Okay, so our topic today is how Xerox gave the graphical user interface to Apple. So we're going to learn what is a graphical user interface. My first computer was the Macintosh Classic 2 in 1993 that I got in 1993. Can you guess how much it cost? So this was what Mac computers looked like in the early 90s, and it cost me 1,000 Australian dollars, which is about, in today's money, 5,000 RMB. And yeah, it looks nice, but it had no hard disk. Hard disk cost another $1,000 or something. It was very expensive. But this was one of the first computers, like with a mouse, and it was kind of small and useful. So at that time, it was really, really exciting. So if you look at the history of computing, in the 1960s, mainframe computers were used by big companies. So these were what computers looked like in the 60s. They were very big. Okay, so they took up a lot of space. There were no personal computers. Only big companies and governments could use computers. Then in the 70s, the first personal computers came in, like this IBM computer. And as you can see, there was no mouse. And if you wanted to do something, you had to type in a command. You had to like write what you want the computer to do. Now in 1975, Steve Wozniak built a computer in his garage. So at that time, there were no personal computers, and he actually built his own personal computer, and he just used a TV screen. He designed the computer here, hardware, and used the keyboard. And in 1976, Steve Wozniak got together with his friend, Steve Jobs. So that's Wozniak and that's Jobs. And they were in their 20s, and they founded the Apple computer. So this is what the Apple computer looked like. This is Apple II. So Apple I is the one that Steve Wozniak built in his garage. And Apple II was the first commercial personal computer. Okay, there's Steve Wozniak with the Apple II. And they got together with this guy, Steve Scully, to help them manage the company because these guys were too young. So they needed an older guy to be the CEO of Apple Computer. And Steve Jobs convinced venture capitalists to fund Apple, right? And Apple became the biggest home computer company in the early 80s, right? So at that time, this was a very new thing to be able to have a computer at home. In 1981, IBM, which is a very big company, International Business Machines, they brought out their own personal computer. Okay, so they wanted to compete with Apple on this personal computer market. And what happened was that Apple III was poorly designed and was not selling. So this is the next version of Apple, and it didn't do well in the market. And as I said, the computers had to type in commands, right? So the computers were not very user-friendly. But in 1979, the company Xerox, which was the copy company, invited Steve Jobs and his team to the Palo Alto Research Center Park, right? So this is the photocopy company. They had this Palo Alto Research Center, which is in California. And the researchers at Park had developed the first graphical user interface. So they developed this type of thing where you could do things on the computer without typing commands, but just clicking using a mouse on icons. Okay, so we're gonna have a look at a video where the people at Park demonstrate how the graphical user interface works. Remember, this was the first time people have ever seen something like this.
I'm David Smith. I'd like to introduce you to the Xerox 8010 STAR information system. This is a new computer designed for office professionals. It consists of a processor, a large display screen, a keyboard, and a pointing device called the mouse. The mouse has a ball on the bottom that rotates as the mouse slides across a flat surface. This moves a cursor on the screen in corresponding motions. It has two buttons on top that can be sensed under program control. You can use these buttons to specify objects and destinations for commands. The keyboard consists of a standard typing array and three groups of function keys. The left group contains the generic functions: delete, copy, move, and show properties. The top group of keys consists of common text formatting functions, making text bold, italic, underlined, super or subscripted, or in a larger or smaller font. The right group of keys consists of miscellaneous functions for getting online assistance, defining and expanding abbreviations, stopping ongoing operations, and others. The display screen shows your working environment. We call this the desktop. It is an electronic analog for an office. On the screens are small pictures or icons representing familiar office objects. This turned black because I pointed to it with the mouse and clicked the mouse button. We call this selecting the object. Selected objects highlight in reverse video. You can then operate on the selection with the delete, copy, move keys, and other keys. Let me select some of the other icons on the desktop. This is a folder, a records file. Using the move key, you can arrange your desktop in any way you like. Move is the most powerful command in the system. It replaces a large number of conventional computer commands, which we will point out as we go along. The copy command is also a powerful one in STAR. It establishes a paradigm for creating. In order to create a new document, for example, you copy an existing one. You can open an icon to see what's inside. You do this by selecting the icon and pushing the Open key. The enlarged form is called a window. Every icon has its own window. This is a document window, displaying the contents of a document.